Okay, so true story. I had a student, brilliant guy, great English, and I asked him in our first lesson, so tell me about yourself. And he just recited, like word for word. My name is Daniel. I am 28 years old. I work in finance. It was flawless grammar and completely lifeless.
Oh, I've had that exact student. Multiple times, actually.
Right? And the second I asked one follow-up question, just, oh, what got you into finance? Total silence. Like I'd unplugged him.
Because the script only goes one way.
Exactly. So that's today. How to actually talk about yourself in English. Not recite a biography. Talk about yourself in a way that survives real conversation.
Welcome back to Vicky's English podcast, by the way. I'm Jeffrey.
And I'm Vicky. But before we start, everyone, please remember to subscribe to our channel.
Yes, click the like button, and please share our podcast with your friends and family. It helps us a lot.
Absolutely. So let's get into it. Honestly, this might be one of the most useful episodes we've ever done, because tell me about yourself, or some version of it, happens to you constantly. Job interviews,
First dates,
meeting your partner's parents,
awkward elevator rides with your boss.
networking events, new classmates. Literally every single time you meet someone new in English, some version of this question is coming. And most learners either over-prepare and sound robotic or under-prepare and just freeze.
There's no in between, apparently.
And honestly, it's not just job interviews either. I've had students tell me they've avoided entire conversations at parties because they knew this question was probably coming and they just didn't want to deal with it.
That's such a real thing, though. I remember years ago, before I taught English, just avoiding a whole table of people at a hostel in Vietnam because I knew someone would ask me the "so what's your story?" question eventually, and I genuinely didn't have an English answer ready. In my own language, easy. In English, at the time, it felt like a trap.
See, and that's the thing. It's not an intelligence problem or even really a grammar problem. You know your own life better than anyone. The issue is just nobody ever teaches you the shape of how to say it.
Which is such a good way to put it, actually. The shape.
So let's build the in-between. Okay, Jeffrey, first question. When someone asks you, tell me about yourself, what actually goes through your head?
Panic, mostly. No, honestly, for me, it's less about the words and more about where do I even start? Like my job, my hobbies, the fact that I moved countries twice. There's too much information and no obvious order.
That's such a common problem, and it's actually not really an English problem. It's an organization problem. So here's what I teach. And Jeffrey, I already know you're going to have opinions about this.
I mean, go on.
I give my students a simple 3-part formula. 1, who you are, your name and where you're originally from. 2, what you do, your job or your studies currently. 3, one specific personal detail that isn't just information, something that gives the other person something to actually respond to.
See, and this is exactly where you and I are going to disagree, because the second you call it a formula, I picture my student reciting it like a robot again.
No, the formula isn't the words, it's the shape. It's like giving someone a skeleton and telling them, now put your own life on it.
Okay, but here's my actual issue with it. I didn't learn to talk about myself in English from a formula. I learned it from doing it badly, like 40 times, in hostels, at bars, in taxi queues, and slowly figuring out which version of my own story actually landed with people and which version made their eyes glaze over.
Sure, but not everyone has the luxury of 40 awkward hostile conversations to figure that out. Some of my students have a job interview in 2 weeks. They need a starting structure now, not a 5-year trial and error process.
That's fair, actually. I think my worry is just that structure becomes a crutch. People memorize the 3 parts and then never adjust them for the actual person in front of them.
Which is why part 3 has to be specific and true, not generic. I like traveling is a dead end. I got into rock climbing because my sister basically dared me into it 3 years ago, and now I'm more obsessed than she is. That's a door. Someone can walk through that.
Okay. That I completely agree with. Specific beats generic every time.
See? We're not even disagreeing. We're just coming at it from different directions. You want people to build the instinct through practice. I want to give them training wheels first, so the practice doesn't feel so terrifying.
Training wheels? Fine. I'll allow it.
Very generous of you.
I try. Okay, so let's actually build one, live. Vicky, do the formula. Introduce yourself like we've just met at, I don't know, a coffee conference.
Oh, a coffee conference? Absolutely. That's a real event I would attend. Okay. Hi, I'm Vicky. I'm originally from Austin, Texas. I teach English online to students all over the world, which I love. And honestly, in my spare time, I'm a little too serious about coffee. Like, I have opinions about altitude and roast dates that my friends find genuinely exhausting.
See, that last part is the whole thing right there. The second you said opinions about altitude, I want to ask you 3 questions.
Right, because it's specific. Nobody wants to ask a follow-up question about, I like coffee.
True. Okay, my turn. Same coffee conference. I'm Jeffrey. I'm from Manchester originally. I actually got into teaching sort of by accident. I was in sales for years, hated it, went traveling, and just sort of ended up teaching English abroad and never left. Spare time-wise, honestly, I'm still trying to figure out how to work my phone half the time. So that takes up a worrying amount of my free time.
Okay, ended up teaching? That's such a good phrase, by the way. That's one to write down. I ended up doing something means you didn't plan it, it just kind of happened that way.
Very accurate description of my entire career, yeah.
And spare time or free time? Same meaning. Both completely natural. Way better than leisure time, which is what textbooks love for some reason.
Nobody has said leisure time out loud since 1987.
Okay, let's talk about the opener itself for a second. Because tell me about yourself isn't the only version of this question, right? There's also just, so what do you do?
Which, small tip, in most English-speaking countries means what's your job, not what do you do this weekend or anything like that.
Right. That trips people up constantly. What do you do on its own almost always means work.
And if someone asks, what do you do for fun, now they're asking about hobbies specifically.
Good distinction. Okay, here's a real one though. What happens when the question actually puts you on the spot? Like someone just turns to you unexpectedly and goes, "So tell me about yourself." And you have genuinely nothing ready.
Honestly, I buy time. Everyone does this, native speakers included. You say something like, "Oh, that's a great question," which, let's be honest, buys you about 2 seconds to actually think of an answer.
It's so true. And I think learners don't realize that natives stall too. It's not cheating. It's just how real conversation works. Nobody has a perfect answer instantly loaded. Or you can just be honest about it. Off the top of my head, let's see. That's a completely normal thing to say while your brain catches up.
I love that phrase, off the top of my head. It just means without preparing, right now, immediately.
Exactly. And it sounds so much more natural than just going silent for 5 seconds, which, trust me, feels like an hour to the other person too.
There's one more I actually use myself, all the time. You know, it's funny you ask. It works even if it's not funny at all. It just gives you a beat before you have to say anything real.
That's such a sneaky good one. It sounds like the start of a story, so the other person automatically leans in and waits, and meanwhile you're just quietly figuring out what you're actually going to say.
Exactly. It buys you time, and it makes you sound more interesting while you do it. 2 for 1.
I might start using that one myself, honestly.
See, this is the actual skill, by the way. It's not that natives always know exactly what to say. It's that we have a small toolkit of phrases that buy us time gracefully, instead of just going quiet or saying 15 times in a row.
Which for learners is genuinely freeing to hear, I think. You don't need a perfect answer instantly. You need one good stalling phrase and enough confidence to use it.
Okay, so we've got the formula, we've got some stalling phrases for when you freeze. Let's talk about the trap on the other side. Over-preparing. Because I actually think this is more common with advanced learners, ironically.
Oh, completely. This is my Daniel story from the start, basically. The more someone practices an answer, the more rehearsed it sounds. And rehearsed reads as weirdly less trustworthy. Like people can feel it.
There's actual psychology behind that, too. When something sounds too smooth, too perfect, our brains kind of flag it as performance rather than honesty. Whereas a slightly imperfect, real answer with a little or a pause actually sounds more sincere.
Which is wild because most learners are terrified of the
Completely backwards fear. A well-placed makes you sound human. A perfectly smooth 3-sentence speech makes you sound like you're reading off a card.
To be honest, that's one of my favorite phrases to teach, actually. To be honest. It's a great little flag that tells the listener, pay attention. Something slightly real is coming.
Oh, good one. Add that to the list. To be honest, I actually hated my job before this. Instantly more interesting than just stating a fact.
It's a signal. It says this next bit isn't rehearsed.
Okay, I want to try something. Let's do a bad version and a good version of the same self-introduction, back to back, so people can actually hear the difference.
Oh, I like this. Go on then. Bad version first.
Bad version. Very flat, very memorized voice. Hello. My name is Vicky. I am a teacher. I like coffee and reading. I live in the United States. Thank you.
Devastating. Truly devastating.
Right? Now, the same information, but real. Hi, I'm Vicky. I actually teach English online, which sounds simple, but honestly, some days it's the best job in the world, and some days I'm troubleshooting somebody's internet connection for 20 minutes. Outside of that, I'm apparently the only person my friends know who has a genuinely strong opinion about coffee roast dates.
See, and the difference isn't the grammar, it's the shape of the sentences and the honesty in it. The bad version is a list. The good version is a little story.
That's it exactly. A list of facts versus a tiny story. And a tiny story always wins.
Should we do the practical bit? I think people need to actually hear this in a real situation, not just us talking about it in theory.
Yes, let's do 2 quick scenarios. First one, a job interview. Jeffrey, you're the interviewer. I'm the nervous candidate.
All right. So why don't you start by telling me a bit about yourself?
Sure. So I'm originally from Austin, and I've been teaching English for about 6 years now, mostly working with adult learners. I actually got into teaching by accident, funnily enough. I was tutoring a friend's kid just as a favor, realized I loved it, and long story short, that turned into an actual career.
Nice. And notice, she used long story short there to skip the boring middle part and get straight to the point. That's exactly what that phrase is for.
Exactly. You don't need to tell someone every single step, just the shape of the story.
Okay. Second scenario. Much lower stakes. First date, small talk. Someone asks, so what do you do for fun?
Honestly, most weekends you'll find me trying a new coffee shop, which I know is basically a personality trait at this point. I got into it a couple of years ago, and it's mildly out of control now.
Mildly out of control. I like that. It's self-aware, it's a little joke about yourself, and it invites a follow-up question.
Right. Self-deprecating humor is such an underused tool for learners. You don't have to sound impressive. You have to sound like someone worth talking to.
Completely agree there. No notes.
Look at that. We agreed twice in one episode. That might be a record.
Don't get used to it.
All right, one more, because I think this one trips people up more than any other. A networking event or a work conference where you actually have to talk about your job in a way that isn't boring.
This is a good one because everyone panics and just says their job title and stops.
Exactly. So someone comes up and says, "So what do you do?" Go on then. Bad version first, since you're apparently the queen of devastating bad versions today.
Happy to. Bad version. I am a software engineer. I work at a technology company.
Riveting. Truly nobody has a follow-up question for that.
Right. Versus. So I'm a software engineer. I currently work on the back end for a shopping app, actually, which sounds boring, but I promise there's more chaos behind it than you'd think.
More chaos than you'd think. That's it, right there. That's the door again. Now I want to know what the chaos is.
Exactly. And notice I used currently there too. Small word, but it signals this is what's happening right now, not necessarily forever, which actually makes you sound more open, more like a person still figuring things out, which, let's be honest, everyone is.
Nobody wants to talk to someone who sounds like a finished product anyway.
Completely agree there too. 3 for 3?
Okay, I take back what I said about not getting used to it.
Okay, quick recap before we go, because I want this to actually stick. 3-part shape. Who you are, what you do, one specific real detail. If you freeze, stall naturally. That's a great question, off the top of my head. And favor a tiny, honest story over a polished list of facts every single time.
And don't be afraid of the Genuinely, it's not a flaw, it's proof you're actually thinking and not just performing a script.
I love that. All right, so next time someone asks you, tell me about yourself. Remember Daniel. Don't be Daniel.
R.I.P. Daniel.
He's doing great, honestly. Don't worry about him. All right, that's it for today's episode.
Thanks for hanging out with us. If this helped, share it with someone who freezes every time they have to introduce themselves in English.
See you next time on Vicky's English Podcast.
Bye, everyone.